Xenoblade Chronicles is in my opinion one of the best JRPG series out there. The characters, the emotional stories, the areas, and the stunning music. Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition was the last main game I needed to complete 2 years ago in the Class trilogy. And I had such a blast. Such a blast that I wanted to rank all the chapters in this game. Before this one, I also made a chapter ranking video for Xenoblade Chronicles 2 and Xenoblade Chronicles 3, so if you want to watch those, I will put a link in the description of this video. The big difference with the chapters in Xenoblade Chronicles 1 in comparison with Xenoblade Chronicles 2 and 3 is that there are much more chapters and that they do not have an even amount of content in them. In Xenoblade Chronicles, most of the beginning chapters are very short and the later ones are very long and story heavy. Also, the chapters do not appear to have a name in the game. However, in the complete guide for Xenoblade Chronicles, they mention some names of the chapters, so I will use those for this video. Also remember, this is my personal ranking, so please let me know your ranking in the comments below. Now without further ado, let's start with the ranking with number 17. In last place we got chapter 6. He's gonna pay for what he did to Fiora. When I think of chapter 6, I can only think about one thing. The night theme for Sator Marsh. Because oh my days, what a banger. The party needs to go to Prison Island, but to get there they need to get through Sator Marsh, which is a murky yet beautiful land at the Beyonce's waist. When they set up camp, Sho cannot sleep as he's still thinking about Fiora's death and his visions. In the morning the group gets to the end of the marsh, but have to get certain items for a Nopon and defeat the Saturn Guardian. The chapter ends with the party going to Magna Forest. Meanwhile, far away on the Mechanics, an unfamiliar silhouetted woman works on a phased Mechon, whom she refers to as Mayneth. What the problem is with this chapter is that there is really nothing going on. In this chapter you only really can explore Sator Marsh and do side quests there. But besides side quests there is literally almost nothing to do here. There are only 3 heart-to-hearts, and in comparison to the other chapters, just a really weak chapter. The areas may be a little dead, but I love this area visually, and I think it's one of the better looking areas in the whole game. At number 16 we got chapter 4. We're heading there ourselves. Chapter 4 is another really short chapter, but at least this chapter got some main story content. The chapter begins with Shulk and Ryan finally arriving on the kneecap of the Bionis, otherwise known as the Bionis' leg. Shulk and Ryan saw smoke in the distance and decided to take a look. And then it was time to meet the real main character of this game. Give him a standing ovation, everybody. Juju. Oh, and we also met Charla, of course. This is also where we hear that Colony 6 has been occupied by the Mechons. Furthermore, this chapter is not really that special, other than at the end of the chapter, Shulk, Ryan, and Charla attempt to defeat another phased Mechon. However, the Mechon is far stronger than them and defeats them easily. He almost kills the party until the lights on his body change color from red to green, and he takes up Juju and retreats to Colony 6. This chapter is low-key carried by Gaur Plains. This is the first big open area of the game, and therefore holds sort of a special place when looking back at this game. For such a big area, you would think that the chapter will be super long, but it's actually one of the shortest chapters in the entire game. That is if you don't do the side content. Without playing the side content, you will literally only see 50% of this area, because it's just so huge. At number 15 we got chapter 3, The Monado Will Grow With You. The chapter begins with a flashback from 14 years ago. In the flashback you can see Shulk as a child, taking part in an expedition with his parents and 4 other Hans. They were traveling through a snowy region and came to what appeared to be a tower. Dixon arrived to find all the Hans dead, except for Shulk, asleep under a stand that held the Monado. Back in the present, in this chapter, Shulk and Ryan head into Tefra Cave to go to the Bionis leg. In the cave, they need to defeat some, Minecraft spiders. I don't know. Chapter ends with Ryan almost dying to the Queen Minecraft spider. However, Shulk gets a vision and his Monado starts to glow and learns his first Monado art, Shield. This chapter is on number 15 because the chapter feels really short and has not really something special. Also, these enemies are super annoying. At number 14 we got chapter 13. This world is in disarray. Chapter 13 is a much longer chapter than the previous chapters on this list. However, I don't know if this is a beloved chapter, but I found this chapter really forgettable unlike some of the other later chapters. The chapter begins in Alchemoth, where we can see Dixon, Overrun and Chief Dunga to hear Kellyan's proposal to form an allied force. This chapter takes place mostly in Mechana village, but also a new area, the Mechana's field. When the group leaves the village and are finally on the top floor of the Mechana's field, they are being ambushed by Jadeface, who is revealed to be Geralt, Charla's supposedly dead fiance. However, he does not recognize her and fires his cannon at the party in a killing attempt. While I don't really like this chapter in comparison to the other ones, the Mechana's field is actually a really beautiful area. I also really like that we finally get to see Gaddle, and this was also my favorite part of the chapter. At number 13 we got chapter 5, Promise that you'll meet us outside the colony. Chapter 5 begins with Sharla having a nightmare that Juju was being killed. Ryan reassures Sharla that with the help of Shulk's visions and the Monado they can save Juju. The three explore the Ether mine until they finally run into Overrun. He reveals that Gaddle disappeared after a failed surprise attack with only his rival left behind. Once they get to the base of the mine, they find the same face mechon that took Juju, Zord. After finally the final shutdown with Zord, the group arrives outside around the Bionis' waist, where they are suddenly confronted by several mechon. The group attacks the mechon till they meet up with Dixon and Dumban. Suddenly, a mysterious flying creature attacks the mechon, also known as a Telethia. Shulk manages to hit Metalface with the Monado, denting its armor. Shulk receives a vision in which he easily defeats Metalface. After the mechon fly away, the chapter ends with the Telethia going back to Elvis. This chapter is stuffed with content, but the only thing why this chapter is so low on this list is because of the area. I really don't like the Ether mine. It's one of my least favorite areas in the whole game and was at first a little confusing to me. Other than that, is the story in this chapter okay, but please don't talk to me Ether mine. No, you're boring as fuck. At number 12 we got chapter 8, Melia Antiqua. In comparison to the Ether mine, the RFC is one of my favorite areas in the game. The atmosphere, the music and the whole vibe is just so good. Also this chapter got the how dare you clown in it, which gave it some bonus points, I have to admit. Upon reaching RFC, the group gets their first glimpse at Prison Island, as well as the high Antian capital Alchemath. Once the group arrives in Alchemath, the group gets arrested in a fancy aerial room. Unaware of the group's arrest, Melia proceeds to meet with the Emperor and give the group sanction. The whole chapter the group is imprisoned and Melia is in the High Antia tomb. This is the exact reason why this chapter is so low. I really like RFC, Alchemath and even the High Antia tomb. But the party does nothing in this chapter except for the end. I really like the story it tells and I really like the end of the chapter, but it's kinda weak compared to the other chapters. Love how the chapter's name is Melia's name. What a queen. At number 11 we got the prologue plus chapter 1. I made something really special today. I combined the prologue with chapter 1 because the prologue is literally 5 minutes or something, but it gives a great explanation to the world and people of Xenoblade Chronicles. For chapter 1 I really like the beginning of this chapter. The game begins with Shulk looking for materials useful to Colony 9 when he is attacked by a Crabble. Ryan saves him and the two return to Colony 9. This chapter has also one of the most wholesome cutscenes of the game, of Fiora bringing Shulk a sandwich to their favorite spot. Upon returning to the lab, they encounter Ryan just as he picks up the Monado out of curiosity. In this chapter the party also goes to Tefra Cave for some Ether cylinders. When they reach the top where the Ether cylinders are, they see that Colony 9 is being invaded by the Mechon. This is where the chapter ends. I really love this chapter, but the story in chapter 1 isn't very good or exciting. I think however that this is a great introduction to the game and a well-deserved 11th place in my opinion. At number 10 we got chapter 7, Meet this year's legendary hero pawn, Ricky. I think the name says it all. The chapter begins with Melia being attacked by a Telethia. Shulk and the rest make their way into the forest till they see Melia. What a lovely bird lady it is. The group goes to Frontier Village. Inside Frontier Village, Melia asks the ruler Chief Dunga to grant them access to RFC. As the name of this chapter suggests, we also meet hero pawn Ricky. When we finally get introduced to Ricky, we need to find the Telethia deep in Magna Forest. After defeating this goddamn Telethia where I was almost 3 months stuck at, the group begins to say goodbye to Ricky, but Dunga instead has Ricky permanently join the group. What I like the most about this chapter is that we get 2 great new additions to the team, Melia and Ricky. However, this chapter does not really have that much main story, and I need to say, the Telethia battle was a really big drama, so I gave it some negative points. And I also really like the cutscene with Elvis. This chapter gets a well-deserved 10th place in my opinion. At number 9 we got chapter 10, Leader of Mechonis and Agent of Mayneth. The chapter begins in the audience chamber where Kellyan tells the assembled ministers that Melia will ascend the throne in 1 year, and until then he shall assume imperial duties as a regent. Back in White Wing Palace, Shulk and Ryan tell the others about Fiora. Kellyan relies a report that the Silver-Faced Mechon fled to Galahad Fortress in Sword Valley, but to go there they first need to reach Valak Mountain, the area you mostly traverse in this chapter. The ending of this chapter is really one of the high points of the game for me. I really love the reveal of Momkar, which we literally knew from the very start, but okay. Partway through the fight, a volley of mass-produced vases drop from the sky as well as a giant golden Mechon, and introduces himself as Egil, the creator of the Face Mechon, leader of Mechonis and agent of Mayneth. Shulk then demands his answer why he put humps in the Mechon. However, Egil brushes him off and leaves with Momcar and Fiora. I love this ending section in this chapter, but it is literally the only really good thing in this chapter. For the rest, there is nothing really special going on. I really like Relic Mountain. The area is so beautiful. But yeah, bonus points for the iconic That's Dumb Bear over there line. At number 8, we got chapter 12, Welcome Back Fiora. The chapter begins with Shulk awakening next to the broken vase and quickly removes Fiora from it. Fiora wakes after freaking kissing Shulk! After that, Shulk ventures with Fiora until they come across Ryan, Sharla, and later also with Dumben, Melia, and Ricky. The chapter ends with the party meeting Lenada. Lenada takes Fiora to the infirmary to examine her, and Sharla goes with them. Shulk and the others then meet with Mikkel. Mikkel tells them Egil is his son, and he asks Shulk and the others to kill Egil, marking the end of the chapter. I love this chapter so much. There are just so many heartwarming moments in this chapter, and I really like this because the past 3 chapters have been traumatizing as hell. At number 7, we got chapter 11, Can You Kill 'Em All? As the group arrive at Sword Valley, Dixon greets them with anti-Mechan weapons and news of an alliance between the Homs, Hyantia, and Nopon. After hearing about Momcar and Fiora, he departs with Elvis back to Alchemath. The party traveled through Sword Valley until just before Galahad Fortress, where again a Momcar fight will be waiting for the party. After an epic battle, Shulk gets a vision of Momcar lunging at the party and then accidentally killing himself. Shulk then tries to stop Momcar, but he refuses to listen and kills himself. After the death of Momcar, party finds Egil and face Nemesis waiting to fight them at the base of the fortress. Egil disables the Monado and overcomes the group easily. Fiora backs Maynef, who's still controlling her body, to help Shulk. Maynef then breaks free from Egil's control and attacks him with a power that surprises Egil. Much of Galahad Fortress crumbles, Nemesis slides out, and Shulk dives after her as the rest of the party falls off into the ocean. I absolutely love this chapter, and actually loved exploring Sword Valley as well. I also really like the fights against Momcar and Egil, and overall I find it a great chapter. This was also the point in the game where I just couldn't play something else. I was so addicted to this game at this point. At number 6, we got chapter 14, Everyone Loved You. Shulk finds himself floating in empty space and hears Elvis's voice telling him to find the true Monado. He awakes to find that he and the others have survived. Vanea greets them and tells that they were protected by Lady Maynef's power. She also explains that Geralt has his memories erased and that the face Mechon are created to counter the Monado, since it initially could not harm the races of Bionis. Upon reaching the data center in Agnirefa, Fiora is temporarily taken over by Maynef, now known to be the goddess of the Mechonis. The group heads for the Maynef shrine where Egil is located. Before they can reach the shrine, they are being attacked by Geralt once more. Once they defeat Geralt, they reach the shrine, where Vanea tries to reason with Egil once more. Shulk fights Egil, successfully impaling him through the shoulder with the Monado. He tries to reason with Egil once more, but after subduing the group with his face, Egil retreats to the Mechonis score to merge with the Mechonis. Realizing that Agnirefa is about to be destroyed, Shulk and the group attempt to escape. However, they fail to outrun the explosion and are about to be obliterated. But then Geralt in his face appears and shields them, sacrificing himself. I'm not the biggest fan of the battles in this chapter. For example, the Geralt fight was a real pain in the ass. Other than that, I absolutely adore this chapter. I love the story, I love the areas, and I love the lore we got. I also really love the ending of this chapter. It always gives me goosebumps when Sharla shouts Geralt's name and we get a little flashback. I don't know, this chapter is just so good. Now to begin our top 5, we got chapter 2. Now it's our turn to repay them. Now, I don't know if this is an unpopular opinion, but chapter 2 is by far my favorite beginning chapter of the game. The chapter begins with the Mechon invasion in Colony 9. At the main entrance of Colony 9, Shulk, Fiora and Ryan are being attacked by a Mechon. While Fiora rushes inside her home to check on Dunban, Shulk and Ryan defeat the Mechon. Later in the chapter, Dunban is suddenly attacked by a violent rush of pain and falls to the ground. The Monado falls in front of him. With a group of Mechon marching up to them from the other side, Shulk rushes forward to grab the Monado. It glows in his hands and then he sees one of his first visions of a Mechon's laser striking him. He dodges the blow and defeats all the Mechon with ease. After the battle, they hurry to the residential district where they come face to face with Metalface, a Mechon who doesn't even take damage from the Monado. Just as Metalface is about to deal the finishing blow, it is blasted in the back by Fiora. Shulk suddenly sees a vision of her being killed and shouts at her to run away. However, Fiora refuses to listen and continues to attack, which as a result ended in Fiora getting killed by Metalface. If I say I was a complete wreck after this, I was a complete wreck after this. This chapter has so many of my favorite cutscenes in the entire game, but also really important ones. For example, Shulk picking up the Monado and the first encounter against Metalface. At number 4, we got the last chapter of the game. I was here at the beginning and I will proclaim the end. Chapter begins with Shulk in space thinking about what happened and wonders whether his life has been pointless. can relate. Elvis appears and tells him only he may decide that. Shulk resolves to stop Sansa and Elvis tells him he knows what he must do. At Colony 6, the party fights a Telethia, but finds themselves surrounded until Shulk arrives. After they defeat another Telethia, Dixon and Elvis flee and the party goes back to the Bionis interior, where the first big boss in the chapter is awaiting the party. Lorafia. When they reach the heart, they find Lorafia, who taunts them by revealing that Kellyan is still alive. However, Lorafia fuses with Kellyan's Telethia, and the party must defeat her, but also Kellyan. After the Lorafia fight, it was time to go back to Prison Island, where Dixon will be waiting. And oh my god, jump scare. The party defeats Dixon, Dixon returns to his Hum's form, and then dies. After smoking. The party then transports from Prison Island to what appears to be a simulation of the solar system. On the way, they encounter ghosts of important encounters of the entire game. For example, Moomkar, Sword, Elvis' Telethia, and Gadol. And then it was time to kill Zanza and create a new world. The only downside I have with this chapter in particular is that you do not really have to explore areas, but I mean, I get it. It's the ending. It is just many cutscenes and battles in this chapter. However, the things that happen in this chapter in combination with the ending of the game, oh my god, such a masterpiece. At number 3, we got chapter 15. You shouldn't have done that. The chapter begins with the Mechonis firing an energy beam towards the Bionis. Kellyan realizes that the Mechonis is awakening and orders an immediate retreat from the sword. When the party is inside the central factory, they decide to first head for the generator, which is still restraining the power of the Monado. Shulk begins to wonder if he should use the Monado, given what he now knows about Zanza and the Bionis. When the party later in the chapter reaches the Mechonis core, they battle Egil, and with success. The party defeats Egil before he can destroy the Bionis. Shulk raises the Monado to kill Egil, but realizes that he doesn't have to kill Egil. At the last second, he deflects the Monado to avoid Egil and sits down beside him, and they become friends. Do you want a cup of tea? Till Shulk gets killed by Dixon in the back. Oh my god! This was another high point for me. I mean, look at Dixon, not a trustworthy man, but I don't know, it was just such a plot twist so late in the game and I didn't really expect it. I can remember when I first played it, I was literally staring at the chapter screen for what feels 50 minutes. This chapter is insane and has in my opinion one of the best story elements of the entire game. And of course, what I already said, the end of this chapter where Dixon kills Shulk, it's such a sick plot twist. All in all, this chapter is really good and memorable, giving it a deserving third place. At number 2, we got chapter 16. This is the Passage of Fate. After the plot twists with Dixon shooting Shulk, Shulk falls and his body starts glowing and rises into the air. Zanza, the god of the Bionis, appears out from Shulk's body. He takes the Monado and tells everyone not to be surprised about his return, as it was predestined and has been since he first resided in Shulk. Later, Egil engages Zanza in battle. Despite protests from Venea that he is too weak to fight more, he claims he does not care. What a king. And would gladly give up his life to defeat Zanza to attain peace. Maynef is overpowered by Zanza, who notes that her strength has significantly dropped from their last conflict. Realizing that Shulk is important to both Maynef and Fiora, Zanza prepares to kill them. But Maynef shields his body and takes the blast herself. Zanza then also takes Maynef's Monado. The party tries to leave, but Zanza intercepts and tries to destroy them with the Bionis' Monado. Egil uses one of the arms of Mechonis to block the attack, and the other one to push an hole through the Bionis' chest. The party escapes while Egil and the Mechonis are both being killed by Zanza. While they want to traverse from the Mechonis to the Bionis, they are being attacked by Dixon. Dixon attacks the group with a horde of Telethia and prepares to finish them off. After Dixon calls for Lorafia to reveal herself, Kellyan turns into a Telethia and the chapter is over. This is by far the best chapter story-wise and was close to being my favorite chapter of the whole game. The Fiora, Maynef and Zanza cutscenes were one of my favorites as well. I know this chapter is almost only cutscenes, but I mean, it's so good. And now for the number 1 spot on the list. Number 1, Chapter 9, I am Zanza. No, I am not Zanza, but... Chapter 9 begins with Elvis showing the Emperor a similar vision Shulk has about Prison Island. The Emperor acknowledges this and Elvis states it will occur soon. After that, we see Mekon going to Prison Island. The party goes to the palace to see that Melia's father is already heading to Prison Island. Because of that, he's going to get killed in Shulk's vision. The party goes after him and goes to Prison Island. On Prison Island, the Emperor intends to create a large barrier that will protect protect Alchemoth and greatly weaken the invading Mechon. When the group finally ascends to the pinnacle of Prison Island, they see the Emperor with a giant. The giant then reveals to be Zanza, the creator of the Monado. He asks Shulk if he wants him to unlock the Monado so that he can damage Face Mechon. Shulk agrees despite Media's hesitations and frees the giant. And then Metalface arrives and launches a spear at Zanza, breaking through the ether barrier and killing him. The Emperor catches Metalface off guard and Metalface falls to the ground. The Emperor hugs Melia but pushes Melia right before Metalface stands up and stabs the Emperor. Shulk is furious, and because of Zanza, the Monado changes and becomes significantly more powerful. Shulk wants to attack Metalface only to be blocked by Face Nemesis, whose torso is damaged enough to reveal that the Mechon has a pilot, a Homs. The Homs remove her helmet to reveal that Face Nemesis is actually Fiora. The chapter ends with Metalface and Face Nemesis flying away and Shulk shouting Fiora's name. Just pure this ending is my favorite part of the entire game, and I am maybe really biased, but the main theme with the reveal that Face Nemesis is actually Fiora, oh my god, it was so good, and I had actually goosebumps everywhere. Prison Island isn't really that great for exploration, but it's just a roller coaster of emotions that you feel when you play this game blind and complete this chapter. This was my ranking for all the Xenoblade Chronicles chapters. I hope you really liked it. Please like and subscribe, and thank you so much for watching this video. And remember, this is my personal ranking, so please don't get offended if your favorite chapter was chapter 6. I am very sorry, but please let me know your ranking in the comments below. Anyways, that wraps up the video. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you later. Goodbye!